Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Baba Giridhari. Gopijana Baba Giridhari. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Shamunatira Vanachari. Shamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Ballabha Giridhari. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Shamunatira Vanachari. Shamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Ballabha Giridhari. Jaya Gopijana Ballabha Giridhari. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Bhajajana Ranjana. Shamunatira Vanachari. Shamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Paribrajacharya Stotara Sadashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Paribrajacharya Stotara Satashi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Jai Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Gangamaya Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Shamaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Narayanam Naraskecham Naram Chaivam Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Nasta Prayeshu Aparajireshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloker Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 21st chapter, 48th text, is that correct? Okay. Ato tajam, upayatam, nidevam, pranatam, puraha, suparyaya, paryagrinat, pratina, Nandya, Nirupaya, Atopayan Utpayat Yatam, Atojam Upayayatam, Nidavan Pranatam Puraha, Saparyaya Paryagrahati, Saparyaya Paryagrahat Pratina Janurupaya Atopajam Upayitam Andevam Pranatam Puraha Saparyaya Paryagrahitnat Pratinandya Nurupaya Atopayam Upayatam Nidayam Pranatam Puraha Suparyaya Parigraha Pratinandya Nurupaya Athojaram upatyatam nidesham pranatam puraha suparyaya parayagrat pratinadyanurupaya Atobajam upayatam Nidevam pranatam puraha Suparyaya paryagridyat Pratanayandu anurupaya. Ladies. Atojatam upayatam Nidayam pranatam puraha Suparyaya paryagyat Pratinandya nurupaya Atotajam upayatam Nidevam pranatam puraha. Suparyaya paryagrina. Pratinandanurupaya. Word for word. Ata, then. Utajam, the hermitage. Upayatam, approached. Nidredvam, the monarch. Pranatam, bowed down. Puraha, in front. Saparyaya, with honor. Pragrinat, Paryagrinat, received him. Pratinandya, greeting him. Anurupaya, befitting the king's position. Translation, seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing down before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. Purport. Emperor Swayambhuva Manu not only approached the cottage of dried leaves possessed by the hermit Kardama, but also offered respectful obeisances unto him. Similarly, it was the duty of the hermit to offer blessings to kings who used to approach his hermitage in the jungle. The verse again, seeing that the monarch, by Srila Prabhupada, seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. I didn't mean to say that Prabhupada wrote this translation, but he translated it. And I think Jayadwaita did the editing, and he very much appreciated that type of editing. So this verse shows that there is a form of etiquette that is to be observed when one approaches one who is more advanced. It separates the position of the Krishna consciousness movement from other faiths that feel that a person who is no longer alive is their guru. In Krishna consciousness, we choose a Diksha guru who is a living person, who we can talk with and hear their lectures. Usually that's the case. So that's a different thing. And it's very important that there's also appreciation and reciprocation. In the Nectar of Devotion, it is written that there's a section called gratitude. And the pastime that Srila Prabhupada chose was when Draupadi was attempted to be stripped naked in front of the large assembly. And Krishna came to her rescue and supplied unlimited cloth for her sari so that it wouldn't happen. So that was his version of gratitude. And I knew one devotee who made a very large devotion. I don't want to say how much it was, but it was above 6 figures. And anyway, that devotee was not thanked for it directly, but stood in line in position, and when all the donations were mentioned, that person's name was mentioned. So the person told me recently that that person would never, ever give another donation to that particular project because there was no gratitude, no appreciation, no thank you. So appreciation and gratitude is very important. There was a man, I don't think he's still alive, I think he's departed, named Podar, and he was living in either Detroit or Ann Arbor, somewhere in that area, Michigan. And his theory, and he became reasonably, not wealthy, but comfortable. I mean, almost wealthy. I don't know what his income was, but judging from his house and his clothing, he was definitely above poverty, way above poverty. Anyway, he had a formula that if you should always reciprocate 40% of somebody. In other words, if somebody gives you $100, you have to be willing to spend up to $40 to thank that person for their donation. And otherwise, they just feel kind of psychologically left out of things. And so it's a psychological importance to say thank you. And I think it exists in everybody. It existed in Prabhupada, it exists in myself. I know if I give a class and nobody says they liked it, I feel very depressed. And if even one person says, "Oh, that was very nice, I enjoyed it," that makes me feel good. So anyway, this man told us about an incident that this Mr. Podar, that he made his living by giving discount subscription rates to Time magazine. And because the bottom line of Time magazine was suffering from this reduced rate of subscription, he was terminated. He was given something like 30 days. So he went to the CEO or the person in charge of employees to tell him what his formula was. That okay, maybe you're suffering a bit of income, but this is a way to show your gratitude and to get a lot of subscribers. I mean he was subscribing to most of his subscribers were college students, and they didn't want to pay the full amount to subscribe to this magazine. So they got a big discount, and he was paying up to 40% of their subscription rate as a form of gratitude. And so when he told the CEO his formula, he appreciated it. He said, "Well, actually, that's not a bad thing." And so they ended up not firing him. They ended up keeping him on staff, and I think he continued that process until the day he died. I'm not sure, but. He was a very intelligent guy, and he gave us a little mathematical formula. It was a kind of, he put on a kind of seminar. There were about 4 or 5 people there. There was myself, there was Jayadwaita, there was Naveen Krishna, I don't remember who else was there. But he gave us all a little quiz that we could think of overnight and come back the next day and see if we could find the answer to. And it was kind of a mathematical problem, and no one could give the correct answer except for Jayadwaita. Jayadwaita gave the right answer. So I had a little experience of the necessity to reciprocate when this was in 1969. Prabhupada called me into his room because we were very seriously in debt at Bhaktivedanta Manor to the BBT for about $70,000, and that was a lot of money in those days. It's still a lot of money even now, but it was a very, very large amount of money in those days. And so Prabhupada said, "So how is it that you are in debt to the DBT for $70,000? And I didn't have a ready answer because it just happened that they gave books to people and they weren't paid for straight away. Anyway, they were eventually paid for. At that time, there was a rule in England that if you wanted to send money out of the country, you had to have invoices. You had to present invoices to the bank before they would send money out of the country. Of course, that law is probably now abolished, but at that time it was very seriously observed. And in a way, that was my justification, or all of our justification, for not paying the BBT the money that we owed them, because it was at that time illegal to send money without invoices. Of course, they probably sent invoices, but we kind of didn't want to part with the money. And so Prabhupada said, "Well, how many Hindus are there in this country?" And in a rough calculation, I said, "Well, maybe 500,000, something like that." So he said, if every Hindu gave £1 every month, would that reduce your debt? And of course it would, because I thought, well, 500,000 pounds is way more than what we owed. So I took this quite seriously, and as a result, a devotee from that part of the world and myself went every night in an old kind of jalopy type of car, and we asked for, and we made this form. It was called a standing order. The standing order directed the bank to pay ISKCON X amount of dollars every month. And we thought this was a very wonderful thing, because they didn't have to do anything. We just gave them the form, they had to sign it, and once they signed it, that was it. So then we looked at the bank statements after a couple of months, and the bank statements showed that there was an income of 3,000 or 4,000 pounds coming in regularly. And this was a result of these standing orders. And then we didn't bother to thank people for their donations. And as a result of not thanking them, after about 4 or 5 months, these standing orders dried up, and there were no more thousands of pounds coming in regularly, because we didn't reciprocate. Not only up to 40%, but we didn't reciprocate even 0% of. We thought that this was going to be a lifetime donation. So that actually happened. And so then we think that Prabhupada was not grateful, because in a lot of conversations he had, especially with scholars, he seemed very stern. He would listen very carefully, and then he would argue about the Vaishnava philosophy and say why it was superior to the rest of the philosophy. And so in a way, it appeared that Prabhupada wasn't reciprocating with people who were donating. And then at the end of one class, I think it was approximately 1972 or 1973 in Atlanta, Georgia, Prabhupada, he had a very emotional experience. He said, they have Radha Krishna Ji, they have a black Krishna and a white Radha. And an interesting thing happened. There was a black man who came to the temple for the first time. And he said, well, I always knew that God was black, but I didn't know he had a white girlfriend. He said that. That wasn't a joke, it actually happened. So anyway, at the end of the lecture, Prabhupada, he had a kind of emotional experience, and he said, you are all thanking me very much. And as he spoke, we could see his voice was choking, and he choked to gravel, so to speak. And we could see that Prabhupada really was grateful for not only the donations, but just the attitude of his disciples, that they were building temples, they were getting deities from India. They were doing amazing things, they were opening temples all over the world. They were doing some amazing preaching. And this was an example of Prabhupada's personal gratitude, although it wasn't, very often manifested. Recently, there was a song called Because You Loved Me. It was a popular song. I think the singer was something like Celine Dion or something like that, and it was played to me as a way to say I thank you. And one of these people said that quoted something that a movie star once said. She said, if you have a child, you have to say to him or her, I love you. And you can't say it just once. You have to say it over and over and over again. The reason is that people forget. And I don't know if those of you who have children are aware of this, but you have to say it. You have to say it, and multiple times. And if you don't, children feel unwanted, unloved, and they tend to become criminal. I mean, in the worst scenarios, they become criminal. There was an incident that Prabhupada sometimes narrates about a court case. I don't know where it took. I think it was somewhere in India, but the man was tried for murder. So he was sitting there watching the proceedings with his aunt, and the jury found him guilty of murder in the first degree. And this man, who was sitting with his aunt, who got convicted, bit her right in the ear, so violently that I almost bit her ear off. And he said, this is all your fault, because you never said that I did anything wrong. You just allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do, and as a result, this happened. And now I'm going to be executed, and it's your fault. That's the story that Prabhupada told. And that apparently he was, I don't know if he was in the court, but he knows the incident, how it happened. So it's very important to reciprocate. That's the point I'm talking about, an appreciation. And some say, like this person that made a big donation, that's something that's very lacking in our movement. We're silently kind of appreciating people. We think that if you're a devotee and you're shaved, if you're a man, you're shaved up, if you're a woman, you're wearing a sari, that's enough. You don't have to compliment them on their service. But people need that psychologically, to be complimented, to notice there is some form of reciprocation. It's a psychological need that all of us have. Anyways, that's just one of the points I wanted to make. Oh, and wanted to tell this little incident about, every day we sing this song, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So I want to tell a little bit about how that came to be. And Prabhupada actually ordered that it be sung in every temple, every day at the time of Guru Puja. So what happened was, I was singing this song, Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, not with the melody exactly as it is on the recording, but something like that. And I was singing it with Shyamasundar and Jamuna. This was in about 1969 or 1970, 1969. And one day, kind of magically, George Harrison appeared at the temple. It was the temple at that time was in Berry Place, the London temple. And he brought his guitar. And he said, well, what are you guys doing? What are you singing these days besides the Hare? This was after the Hare Krishna mantra came and was a big success. It was so successful that when Prabhupada first came to London, he said, well, what is this Hare Krishna mantra record? And one of the devotees said, well, it sold 70,000 copies today. And Prabhupada just lightened up like a light bulb. And he said, oh, very big business. So anyway, this recording took place in a recording studio called Trident Studio. It's not like the trident that Lord Shiva carries, but it's 2 words, Trident. I don't know where they got that word. And it's in a place in London. It's in central London, but it's in a place called St. Anne's Alley. St. Anne's, A-N-N-E-S, Alley. And it's colloquially known as Sin Anne's Alley, because London is a very sinful city, we might say. I mean, with all due respects to anyone who's from that country, it's true that people think there's a lot of crime in New York, but there's also a lot of crime in London. And a lot of it is in the central part where there's a lot of meat eating, prostitution, gambling, and it's just, a bad place to be. So anyway, this recording, it's a very recording studio, Trident Studio. It's a very well-appointed studio, kind of like EMI or something like that. But the latest, they had the latest equipment. And it was on 2 levels, and the upper level had a glass in it and a big console for mixing. George was up there doing the mixing, and during the recording, and he paid for the use of the studio, which at that time was probably 70 or 80 pounds per hour. And that recording had violinists, celloists, harp player, orchestral bell player, and many other flute players, and Hammond organ player, which I played, and about 15 or 20 singers. And I was the choir leader, sort of. I became the ad hoc choir leader of the singers. And then George Harrison did the mixing, and then on a separate day, he even got a drummer to give it a kind of a rock beat. And it became so popular. It wasn't as popular as the Hare Krishna mantra, but it was reasonably popular. And when I was going on Harinam in London, up and down Oxford Street, once in a while people would ask for our autographs. I would say, oh, you're famous blokes. So they got our autographs. Anyway, that happened. And as late as 1977, when Prabhupada was being driven around, he said that he liked the recording. And he, at first, he didn't really hear it very well because it was played for him on a primitive battery-powered turntable, and he couldn't hear it very well. So he said, when he was at Watsika Avenue, just after they got the temple, this was in about 1970. He said, well, can you play that recording that the devotees in London made with George Harrison on the big speakers? So the devotees kind of shuffled around and made excuses to say, well, we don't have a turntable. We can't do it. And then, lo and behold, they found a turntable. And the recording was then played over the loudspeakers right after Prabhupada greeted the deities. And he was sitting on his Vyasasan. They were just about to chant the prayer that's sung every day to the Guru Puja, Sri Guru Charana Padma. And all eyes were on Prabhupada because the reason that the devotees didn't want to play it for him, they actually resisted playing it for him, even when he asked to hear it, was that it had a female lead. Jamuna was singing Govardhana Mari Purusham, and they thought Prabhupada wouldn't like it. So everyone watched Prabhupada, and it was completely silent. I mean, there's a description of what actually happened by Danavir Prabhu, or Maharaj, who was an eyewitness to this event. And all eyes were on Prabhupada, and he didn't say anything. He just listened to the whole 6-minute recording, and then they noticed that there were drops of tears coming out of his eyes towards the end of it. And at the end of it, he said, and now this recording must be played in every temple all over the world at the time of Guru Puja. And that was the end of that controversy. And it's being played even today. And another very interesting thing happened on that count, that Apple Records, who produced the long-playing vinyl record, wanted us to write all the liner notes and to supply all the artwork for the album cover. And we didn't have anything ready. And we wanted the cover to be the picture of the deities with the devotional clothes, the best picture that there was available. And we contacted the person who made the outfit, Mrs. Sharma, and she said, "Oh, I don't have a copy of it. Didn't have a photograph of it." So we selected another picture of Radha and Krishna with a different outfit, and Apple Records said they had to have it that day with all the liner notes and everything because they were, a big corporation. They wanted to produce it straight away, and very miraculously, that very day in the morning, when the mail came, it was delivered every morning. It was a big stack of envelopes. There was a letter that came from Italy. And it didn't have and I thought, well, I'm going to see what this says. And it didn't have a name or a message in it. It just had a photograph. And the photograph was this color picture in a 5 or 3 or 4 meter color transparency. And I rushed it over to Apple Core, and that became the cover. I'm going to pass this around, by the way, and this is still in existence. This is the cover, I think, of the compact disc that Apple produced of it, and so they're still using it. Anyway, that's one of the many miraculous occurrences that happened in days of yore. So that it became popular. So, are there any comments or questions? I think I'm telling more of a story than expounding philosophy. But anyway, it can be about anything, even philosophy. I'll try. This is called Stump the Swami period. Any comments? Or yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
The verse was very small, and I thought, oh, what's Maharaj going to say? It's a small little verse. And to elaborate on gratitude, I just want to say thank you, because they say even in firms when they recognize the employees, they get more work out of them. It's not just donations that get it. So, and what my observation is, sometimes some people have that gratitude, but some people don't.
Right.
So I was wondering if you can elaborate, like, if we're not getting the gratitude maybe that we need from someone who could be giving us gratitude, is there any way, or we just have to go ahead in our lives without getting the gratitude?
Well, we can go through life without getting gratitude, and I think that one of the many reasons why people leave frontline preaching is because they don't feel that anyone is their friend in Krishna consciousness. Anyway, that does happen sometimes. But if we don't feel gratitude, we may just have to carry on because it's there, even though we don't hear it. And we have to know that people feel it, even though they don't say it. They actually believe that. They actually are very happy to. And thank you for complimenting me, because now I feel better. Yes.
I was thinking back about gratitude and appreciation, and around 12, 13 years ago before I came here. I was a personal trainer for many years in Sydney. And we had a big team, and each trainer would train about 50 to 100 clients a week. So it was very busy, but once a week for, I think it was around 2 hours, our whole gym, so everyone who worked there, we would get together for 2 hours and we'd just appreciate each other, thank each other for what we've done that week, glorify each other. You did great doing this week, and it just keep the team morale so high. And we had the same trainers for many years, we had the same clients for many years, and it was just due to appreciation. It's really important. And we had a little glimpse of that last year, I think, at the what festival was it down in when they sell was it when we were selling the pots, right? Yeah. So I think for a small part of that festival, they had a little bit of appreciation for devotees, but I think moving forward for New Govardhana and maybe temples around the world, it would be really important to have an appreciation day each year where you have like a little festival and you can glorify the devotees, be thankful to the devotees for doing the service that they're doing. Because like you said, sometimes you may be a devotee like myself, you're just doing small services and only the big guns are getting the appreciation. I'm not saying I don't feel appreciated, I feel appreciated. But sometimes people can feel like that. So I think it's just making a time and a place each year to really give that appreciation to devotees. And that way devotees don't leave. I think, like you said, a lot of the time devotees leave maybe due to that. You may feel like the whip's just cracking on you 24/7. I've just got to work. I've just got to do this, and no one's really saying, "Wow, you're doing really amazing." So really, just taking the time to appreciate the devotees. Look at him in the background carrying a big bucket. So yeah, I think appreciation, showing gratitude, moving forward for ISKCON, super important. And we can all make an effort each and every day just to appreciate each other a little bit more, and that way we're going to have devotees stick around, we're going to grow as a movement, and people are going to want to join more and more. So yeah, appreciation's key. But putting time aside, I think, is really important also. Maybe this year we can organise it. Once a month. Every Sunday feast. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question would be, like we can read in the Srimad Bhagavatam how there's this amazing reciprocation between Kardama Muni and the king. And sometimes, like how Prabhu was also mentioning, that sometimes maybe there could be a lack of gratitude in our society. What do you think is the reason for that, if there is a lack?
Well, I think that the reason is that we tend to take things for granted, including someone who does excellent service. We tend to think, oh, that he's perfect or she's perfect, and they must know it, and so I don't have to say anything. So I think that's one of the reasons that it happens. I know with insurance policies, if there's a flood or a hurricane or an earthquake, it's called an act of God, or like a cyclone. It's supposed to be coming here. That's an act of God. But eating every day and raising a family, that's not called an act of God. So in a sense, that God is not appreciated, and devotees are not appreciated for what they do, even though it's necessary. I think in parts of the world, there is more of that going on. I mean, and this is a very important verse because it shows that there's a form of etiquette that's observed. That when you meet someone that you consider more advanced than you are, you offer them respects and obeisances. And as a rule, according to the 11th canto, Ishvara Tada Dineshu, there's a verse that says that you have to make friends with devotees. With what are called equals. Svapi tulyati darshana. Tulya means equal. So if they're equal, or if you regard them equal, even if they're greater than you, you make friends with them. It's not easy to make friends with somebody. Most people are only friendly with their very close friends or brothers or sisters or wives or husbands. But it's important to develop these kinds of relationships with people. And as has been said. It's very important. And in the corporate world, I was doing some reading years ago. I don't do it now, truth be told, but they were making their main focus was on making their company very popular. And what they found out was when they exercised what they called corporate communications, when they did the same thing with making their corporation popular among the devotees, they weren't there because their salary, they were there because they liked to be there. They found that corporate communications was the way for them to make more money than their ordinary communications. I mean, that's just what happened in the material world. I don't know if that exists even today, but that was something that I read. Corporate communications. Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll stop there. Hare Krishna.